My name is Frank Candido, and I'm here as the chairman of Delta Resources. You know, Delta is a little bit different from a lot of junior companies. First, we have two major projects. We have a project in Chibougamau mining camp of Quebec. It's over 200 square kilometers, but we're not developing that property at this stage because we made a discovery in Ontario. And we're really in a part of Ontario that if you compared us to anywhere in North America, if you wanted to put a mine and develop a mine, it would be the cheapest, least expensive, most cost-efficient area to put a mine in Canada. And we're just 40 kilometers from Thunder Bay, right south of the Trans-Canada Highway. This is it, sorry. So we made the discovery in October 2022, and since then we've drilled about 45,000 meters at the discovery, and now we're at an inflection point, and I'll explain that in a second. But a few things to consider. We own 21% of our stock. That's the board of directors. Every single member of our board has had success in their life, whether it's in technology or in mining, et cetera. So we're all in it for the same reasons. We want this to be a success. Our CEO works for $1 a year, so does not take a salary. We moved our head office into the offices of Troilus Gold. For some of you who don't know Troilus, Troilus has got 13 million ounces in Quebec. Justin Reed, the CEO, is on our board of directors as well. They closed a $172 million fully subscribed financing yesterday. I think their market cap is around $700 million. So they're in development phase. And so not only did we move our offices into their office, but we also have full access to their entire technical team. So we do have 2 technical people on full-time staff, but having access to their team just allows us to leverage what we have with their technical expertise and without having to have these people employed full-time by Delta. So we're really running an efficient operation at Delta when you compare us to a lot of juniors. Our CEO happens to also be the largest single shareholder of the company and has invested over $3.5 million of his own money in the stock. No stock was gifted or given. This is just a stock chart. Much of this I've already said, so I'll just skip on. So I talked about two major projects, but we're going to focus in on Ontario. So this is the surface expression of our deposit. As you can see just to the north there, that's the Trans-Canada Highway. The Trans-Canada Highway, for those of you that don't know, is a highway that crosses Canada from east to west. And depending on where you are, if you're in an urban area, it could be 6 lanes. Where we are, it's 2 lanes. But the Ontario government has already decided to expand the highway to 4 lanes. And what's interesting about it is that we sit just south of the highway. So we're already in discussions with the Ontario government to move the highway slightly north to allow us room for expansion when this becomes a mine, and we certainly believe that it will be a mine. So if we zoom in on it, you can see that the trees have been cut. This area is logging territory. There's no lakes, there's no rivers, so it's not environmentally sensitive. We're right near the highway. There are already 2 power lines across our property. And just to the north, that jagged line in yellow is a high voltage power line that's already been approved by the Ontario government and is under construction. So from the point of view of infrastructure, we have everything we need. We're 40 kilometers from Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay is a town of 125,000 people. It's a deep port city. There's a train line that runs south of us. So infrastructure is key here. And as I suggested at the beginning, if you had to point to a place to put a mine in Canada, this would certainly be one of those places from the point of view of capital expenditures and efficiency of operation. You would not have to build a mining camp. In fact, one of our geologists travels every day from Thunder Bay to the property. Oh, there's even a cell phone tower, so we have access to data and phone on the property. So to the right there where you see the bulk of the drilling, that's Eureka. That was our discovery. And I'm going to get to that in a second in a bit more detail. And I've outlined 2 stars there. Chabaquois, which is our next target. We've actually just drilled it. We started a drill campaign a couple of months ago. That's 1.7 kilometers west of Eureka. It's on strike, so we're taking really big step out. And then the wedge zone, that's 5 kilometers from Eureka, again on strike, another big step out. We're actually in the process of, we're in the second hole at the wedge as we speak. So this was a 3,000 meter campaign. This is all at surface. These are all shallow holes. The deepest we've drilled at Eureka, we actually drilled a deep hole of 700 meters vertical. We hit mineralization at depth, but that's not our focus for now. Our focus is really looking for the shallow stuff within 300 meters, something that would be within an open pit. But we're taking these big step outs. So I'm just going to zoom in on Eureka. This was modeled by Troilus for us at the end of 2023, but we've since extended that. And now we've included all of the holes, so that's about 45,000 meters of drilling in total. You can see some of our drill intercepts. If we would have made this discovery in a market that we're in a few months ago, let's say, certainly our stock would have reacted much better than in October of 2022, where we announced some of those intercepts and the stock didn't even move. There was hardly a reaction from the market. So it's just unfortunate. Timing is everything. But, at the end of the day, we have it. So we're very happy. And we hired 2 firms, external firms, to model Eureka in the eventuality that we want to put out a resource estimate. And we're not doing that just yet. And I'll explain to you why. One of which is an internationally known firm and one is more a Canadian local firm. And so what we're missing to have all of this, that's the full 2 kilometers within 300 meters in resource, inferred, and some in indicated, is about 5,000 meters of infill drilling. And most of that is to the west, where you see that there's spacings that are a little bit too wide. So the decision we made with $2.5 million in the treasury was, do we spend the $2.5 million on drilling that 5,000 meters to put out a resource? The estimate is we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 2 million ounces there. Or do we do something to try to shake the market? So we decided to do the latter, especially since we're heavily invested and we're not afraid to write a check again in the new year if we need to. So the good news is where we are. The bad news is where we are. Unfortunately, there are no gold mines in the area. And that's the reason why we're a little bit overlooked. People don't think of Thunder Bay as a gold mining camp, but we think that this is a gold mining camp that's evolving, and it may be the most significant gold mining camp in Canada to come. So X2 Mining has, to the west of us, they're about 50 kilometers. They've got about 6 million ounces. They've been consolidating some of the other smaller companies around them. In fact, they announced one consolidation just a couple of months ago, and they're moving towards development. And but we've got a very large land package. That's the gray area you see there. That's over 300 square kilometers. And we think that our land package hosts a number of Eureka gold deposits, not one, but many. And so the idea is that we've decided to take a little bit of risk and try to demonstrate that our theory is accurate. So as I pointed out, Chabaquois is 1.7 kilometers to the west, which we've actually drilled pending results. And we're currently drilling Wedge. Again, it's on strike 5 kilometers west of that, of the Eureka. And again, it's on strike. And, there is a possibility that this is all one very large deposit, but we're not at that point yet. So we're just going to focus on what those results give us, but we should have the bulk of the results out by the end of the year. But something that I will point out, because people ask us often, how is it that you guys were able to accumulate this wonderful land position without anyone coming in before you? And the reason is actually historical. Inco, which was a large Canadian mining company, they essentially own this entire area. And if you look in the black, that was the old Inco mine. That's a nickel copper mine. And this area was really known as a nickel copper belt. It wasn't known for gold. But Inco had a subsidiary in the 80s, it didn't last very long, where they allowed 1 or 2 of their geologists to fool around with gold. And they did drill, and that I zone is 18 kilometers southwest of their Eureka deposit within our property package. In that whole area, we just completed a large till survey, and till is how we found Eureka to begin with. So we're pending, those results are pending. We should hopefully be announcing those in the next week or 10 days because they're all coming in, and that'll just help us vector in. But if you look at some of those intercepts that Inco drilled, I mean, if you put something out like that in an area that we're in, remember, we're not in the Yukon, we're not in the farthest northern Quebec, we're in Thunder Bay. And that's 3.28 grams over 14 meters, 4.53 grams over 14 meters, 4.32 grams over 41 meters, et cetera, et cetera. These are amazing intercepts and all at surface. So we certainly plan on drilling that I zone. We won't make it before the end of the year, but certainly in the new year, at the beginning of the new year, the I zone is the next area. And all those stars are not just, things to put on the map to make them look pretty. These are all targets that we have. And so we expect after getting this TIL results back that we're going to have a few of these high priority targets in that area that we're going to want to drill. So all that to say that, we already have something at Eureka at surface, 2 kilometers wide, down 300 meters, likely just shy of 2 million ounces. We will look to put that in resource at some point, perhaps in 2026. Like I said, maybe 5,000 meters of infill drilling to get that all into inferred and indicated. We're drilling 1.7 kilometers west on strike, hopefully to hit, Eureka 2.0. Another 5 kilometers west of that at the wedge zone. Again, very similar properties. There were a couple of historical holes at wedge that I should point out before we acquired it by a very small junior company, which helped us in vectoring in there. And then we are certainly going to be heading 18 kilometers southwest on our property package to drill the I zone and likely other targets. So all that to say, why invest in Delta? We have skin in the game. We own 21% of our shares. Our CEO works for $1 a year. We have $6 million in warrants at 25 cents. We own the bulk of those warrants. We certainly plan on exercising those warrants. We're not shy to write a check. Everyone on our board is very much involved. We share offices with Troilus. We have access to a tremendous team. We're doing some of the long lead time item things, such as metallurgy. We're working on our metallurgy. We're using a Troilus metallurgist to do that metallurgy work, so we will have that information out in the new year. We're doing environmental baseline work. Yes, these are long lead time items, but we decided that we're going to start working on some of these things in the background, again, with the help of the Troilus team. And and we plan on aggressively advancing what we think is a tremendous property package. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, we do have an extra 2 minutes here for a question. I do have a question in regards to your drill costs. What is it currently running at the moment?
$250 includes everything per meter. Includes assaying, includes staff, everything. It's very, very inexpensive. Yeah. And in fact, our drilling company, Chibougamau Diamond Drilling, the genesis of Delta from 2018 was the drilling company, 2 brothers that own, probably the best drilling company in in Eastern Canada. They're wealthy guys. They've been at it, their father and the 2 brothers. They brought this Quebec property to us, this 200 square kilometer property. And that's how Delta was supposed to start. And we hired a guy in Ontario to come and do some of the, work for us in Quebec. And he had just finished doing some stripping at this property in Ontario, which was much smaller at the time. And so we went to investigate this work in Ontario. And as it turned out, just because of legal, Ontario became Delta-1, Quebec became Delta-2, just, when we closed the deal. But really, the focus was supposed to be Delta-2. But, we drilled Ontario, we hit, and so we decided to turn our focus there. So all that to say that, they're significant shareholders of our company. So we always have a drill. If something breaks down, it gets replaced immediately. So we've got fantastic service.